spreadsheet. Oh, we'll be recording the presentation, but we will stop the recording for question and answer.
Okay, we can see my screen.
Yes.
I have a laser pointer. Cool. Hi, everybody. My name is Catherine Prunella. I just started 3 months ago. So I saw that there are some new people in the mix. Happy to talk about this project. Happy to talk offline about what it means to be an extension specialist because I'm still understanding that. So my position is that I'm a water quality extension specialist. I'm working across New York City. My office is located in the Bronx, which is the only part of New York City that isn't an island. So this is my way of introducing the geography of New York. You know, we're concrete jungles, but we are a series of islands, and that includes wetlands. So I'm going to be talking to you today about a project I'm working on that was part of the NOAA Marine Debris Challenge Competition. This is a solicitation that's funded through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Among the many priorities of this solicitation, one of them is the mitigation of microfibers during laundering. So I'm going to talk all about that. I wanted to first take 1 second. I was thinking about this when everybody was introducing themselves because yeah, this is a group of people who work in urban spaces. So I'm talking about microplastic, but at least in New York City, we deal with so much just like trash on our streets, right? So I was thinking about, I guess I'm curious to hear more about like what marine debris means for your cities, even though I'm talking about a really specific kind of component of marine debris. So I'm working with researchers at Columbia University, the Lamont Doherty Earth Institute. I wanted to first call attention to some research that came out recently. This was a couple of weeks ago. This was led by, or one of the researchers is Bejan Yan. He's the PI on the project I'm working on. So in this project, they studied plastic water bottles, the water that's inside them, and they found like massive amounts of micro and nanoplastics, and it gained a lot of publicity. So here, this is a screenshot I took this morning of just some of the articles from NPR to People magazine. I think one of the big sticking points of this article was how much nanoplastics they found in the water bottles. And nanoplastics are particularly pervasive because of their size. They've been found in vital organs. They've been found to transfer the blood-brain barrier. So it's still pretty unclear what the effect is of microplastics on human health, but it certainly causes concern, or it's emerging the concern. This is this is a Google search history of the word microplastic from 2014 to present. So how often worldwide people Googled microplastic. And you can see that this is a new kind of contaminant of concern. And there are certain peaks. I mean, the peak right here is from the article I just showed from the Columbia University professors. And then we have a peak here that is from an article that came out in 2022 on microplastics being found in lung tissue. So this gets a lot of attention, right? A lot of media, a lot of concern when we think that microplastics are affecting our bodies. So shifting into the topic of conversation today, if you will indulge me, I'm going to ask you to do an activity. I'm going to put a 30-second timer on my cell phone. I want you to, in the chat, answer the question, what do you think your shirt is made of? I don't want to know like the percentages. That doesn't matter to me. Just tell me what you think your shirt is made of. If you have no idea, look at your clothing tag. 30 seconds on the timer. Go ahead, go for it. Oh, nice. I'm reading them too. Okay, got about 10 seconds left. Three, two, one. Okay, thank you all for participating. So let me see some of these answers, and can I advance my slide? Okay, so this exercise is to point out what's important for this topic, which is that there are clothing that's made of synthetic fibers. So these are polymers, plastic, things that don't break down. The shirt I'm wearing right now is mostly polyester. That's plastic, right? It's super helpful because public speaking makes me nervous and it like catches all my sweat. But when it enters into our marine systems, it's a pollutant, right? Fibers from plants and animals like cotton, hemp, wool, these are also pollutants, but they degrade. So they're not the topic of today's conversation. I'm looking at the chat. Oh, we had some wool. Nice. Okay. I love wool, merino wool. But again, some of these more degradable types of fibers are also more expensive. And I don't see hemp shirts very often. I don't know about you. So just to drive the point home, when I put my plastic polyester shirt into the washing machine and I crank up the temperature and I use my Tide detergent that has God knows what in it, and I don't have this kind of machine, I actually have the worst one where you put it in from the top and it swirls. On a microscopic level, this is breaking down our clothes into microfibers. And you'll notice this if your clothes ever shrink or if the material thins, the colors fade. This is an actual image under the microscope that we took at Columbia a couple weeks ago. So these are really stringy, pervasive plastic pollutants. And in New York City, and maybe this is similar to the way it works in your city, when the washing machine effluent goes down into our sewage, the microfibers go with it because the microfibers are not captured by the lint. They're too small, they go through. It's then transported to wastewater treatment facilities. This is Newtown Creek, our biggest one in New York City. And these treatment facilities don't have the capacity right now to filter out microplastics. They're too small. And so the microfibers go through into the ocean and into the solid sludge product. And there's a leak in this system because in New York City, it's a combined sewage system. So when it rains or when the snow melts and the water hits a high enough threshold, we get untreated water just going straight into our outfalls and into the ocean. So the microfibers are going into our water, and this is a city of 8.5 million people who do a lot of laundry. So I didn't have a number for New York City. I have a paper from SUNY Fredonia, this is a New York State school, where they studied wastewater treatment, 17 facilities across California, New York, Ohio, and Wisconsin. And by their numbers, they found that on average, each facility per day was releasing about 2.5 million microfibers. So that's 2.5 million microfibers per day per wastewater treatment facility. It's a huge number, but it's hard to even imagine what that means. So now onto the solutions. This is what this project is focusing on. The researchers at Columbia are aiming to create a ultra filtration system that captures microplastics and nanoplastics from laundry and washing machines. You don't need to understand this schematic. The point is, though, is that they want to store in a container the fibers that come off of our clothing, and then, this is the important part, right? And transfer that technology to laundry partners. So one of the letters of support on our proposal is from Whirlpool. So this is a technology transfer goal. The other end is that once this microfiber mat or this discharge mat is created, we could throw it out into the landfill. Or to close the system, the goal is to figure out how to then recycle and reuse these microfibers and nanoplastics that come out. And so we're partners. We have a letter of support from Amber Cycle. This is a textile recycling partner. So curious to see how this goes. But one of the first parts of my extension work is to create a steering committee. And some of the more essential parts of the steering committee will be these industry representatives to see how to do this technology transfer. This next slide is just a couple of the solutions from a policy perspective. So France, I think, is the first country to really move on this. They have a bill where beginning in January of 2025, all new washing machines will have to include a filter to remove microfibers. I don't know that much about this. I'm eager to learn more and to see what happens. Last year in California, a bill was passed but vetoed by the governor that does the same thing, would have required microfiber filters to be installed on washing machines beginning in 2029. I included here a quote from the veto letter. I encourage the bill author to consider alternative approaches to incentivize rather than mandate the use of filters or other technologies that remove microfibers in wastewater. I think we could have a whole presentation on what that means to incentivize rather than to mandate. I just wanted to put that up there to give some more information about this problem. And then I want to put this in 2015, New York was actually the first state to prohibit the sale of personal cosmetic products that contain microbeads. So if you remember like the Neutrogena face wash or the Colgate toothpaste. So I do see a potential for, once again, New York to be a leader in working with this other type of microplastic problem, right? Microfibers. So now getting into the extension work I'll be doing, and this is where I really welcome a lot of feedback. Like I said, I've been here for 3 months. I'm jumping into a proposal that's already been written. So now I get to kind of create what we actually do with it. The goal is to raise awareness of the microfiber problem, right? If we want to create these kind of industry and municipal scale solutions, people need to know about this. And this is very much an emerging contaminant. So I'm tasked with developing education, outreach resources, social media, informal and formal learning opportunities to teach people about microplastic pollution, or I'm sorry, microfibers in particular. So one of the first things I'll be charged with doing is interviewing folks about microfibers and about laundry. So the purpose is to create a kind of baseline understanding of how much people think about microplastics, what people know about them, and particularly their relationship to our clothing and laundry. The goal is to use these semi-structured interviews, so more conversational interviews, to create outreach and education materials that raise awareness. I wrote accessible. I think that means using the language that people use, being culturally responsive, taking into account people's concerns. Yeah, so getting more into what these interviews are actually going to look like. And this is really where I welcome your feedback. I welcome feedback on folks that have done semi-structured interviews or who have done casual, just kind of conversational interviews with people. It doesn't have to be in a formal setting. We are in the process of developing our IRB submission. So this is all very much a work in progress. So the idea is that right now we have, because we're working with Columbia researchers, at Columbia University, we have the okay to do interviews in one of their laundry facilities. And then we're also seeking out laundromats in New York City. So in NYC, having an in-house washer and dryer is like a status symbol. Most people use laundromats, especially like middle and lower income folks. And so going to laundromats and talking to people, we have at least one laundromat where we have a relationship with them. But one of the things I'm going to be doing is like going into a laundromat and saying, hey, can I conduct this interview here? The way we're envisioning it is that I would have maybe a table. I would love to have like coloring books and crayons, maybe if I can swing it, some sort of activity for kids so that, you know, if there's somebody washing clothes and they have their kids with them, they can be entertained. So there will be a payment for these interviews, you know, a gift card of some amount. I could give them an Amazon gift card, but I think I would prefer to give them like a swipe card to that laundromat. That way I can, it will be part of the hook of getting a laundromat to agree to this. I can say like, hey, you know, I'm going to buy all these, I'm going to give you all this money, and then I'm going to give that money out to people to keep coming to your laundromat, hopefully creating some sort of reciprocity so that I can somehow benefit these laundromats that I'll be using. And then these are the types of questions that I'll be asking. Again, I welcome feedback. So very briefly and kind of casually, you know, tell me about how you do your laundry. What temperatures do you set it at? What detergents do you use? Do you like doing laundry? That I mean, you know, do you do it the same way? Do you go to the same places all the time, etc.? What are your clothes made out of? Kind of the question I asked before. And then getting more into the water quality stuff, where do you think where do you think the water goes after it leaves the washing machine? And then I could ask questions about contaminants, like, do you think about water contamination, or what do you care about when it comes to water contamination? And then questions about microplastics. Have you heard about microplastics? If so, from where? Is it something that you think you should be concerned about? That question is going to be very much influenced by the fact that I'm asking them that question. If I ask you, is this something you're concerned about? They're probably going to be like, oh yeah, it's something I'm supposed to be concerned about, right? Asking questions about what actions. So yeah, this is really the end of my presentation. I can go on to my thank you slide. But I can also go back to the questions. I'm curious to hear what people think. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you have experiences. Thank you.